मेरा स्कूल का अटेंडेंस ऑलमोस्ट 99% होता था because that was the only thing which I could look forward to during the day by going out of home and then spending time at people management. I think is one of the most difficult tasks in the world. मुझे तो अभी भी लगता है कि मतलब I'm not a finished product. Everybody is a work in progress and so am I. I do a lot of things which are right. I'll do a lot of things which are wrong, or for that matter, mistakes as well. Whatever you do, you will never be perfect at it, right? There will always be scope for improvement. I want to be the person who I would want to be seeing as manager. I mean, so what I expect from my manager is the kind of person who I need to become. Right, because mostly when you move from an individual contributor to a managerial role, your rules suddenly change. You don't want to be micromanaged, but the moment you become a manager, you start micromanaging people. You want to be trusted with all your decisions, but the moment you start managing people, you are not able to trust them.
The Coffee Q Show, where we sit down with some of the brightest minds in leadership for candid conversations over coffee, from insights on steering organizations to personal stories that shape their journey. We bring you the human side of leadership. So grab your coffee, sit back, and join us for a fresh take on the leaders beyond the boardroom. In this episode of the Coffee Q Show, we have with us Naveen Tiwari, co-founder of Scrabble. Naveen is a leader with an unconventional approach towards running organizations and is a visionary who's quietly transforming how companies discover and build exceptional talent. But today, we are not just talking business. We are going to uncover the lesser seen side of Naveen, the storyteller, the theatre artist, as well as the introspective founder. So get ready for a conversation that blends strategy with soul. And of course, a rapid fire round that will reveal a few surprises along the way. This is the Coffee Q Show, and I'm your host, Ekta Kapoor, co-founder Amazing Workplaces, an integrated HR platform that helps organizations create lasting employer brands since 2018. So join me as I uncover the human side of leadership, one conversation at a time. So welcome Naveen to the Coffee Q Show. How are you doing? And it's wonderful to have you as a guest today.
Thanks a lot, Ekta. I think you are doing a great job, and thanks a lot for considering me worthy enough to be called on your show. So I'm glad to be here.
Oh, I believe our audience are going to really love it because, like we were having a conversation yesterday, through the warm-up call, and you told me about your story, your journey. I believe when our audience actually listen to it, they will be really inspired, and they will come to understand that what all goes behind making a leader.
Yeah, I hope they do.
Sure. Now, Naveen, I'm very inquisitive to understand that before entering the banking and startup boardrooms, and even before Scrabble and theatre in your life, who was the boy behind it all? And what shaped you in those formative years? And what early experiences unknowingly set you on this unique journey? Yeah.
So I'm originally from UP. But I was never born there. There is a place named Balia where my grandparents are from. We come from a very, very low middle class, middle income group family. I was born in Chhattisgarh, Bilaspur. So my dad are four brothers and one sister, and my dad was the only earning member at that point in time in the family, and he was doing a job and basically one fine day, I mean, when I was 5 years old, my dad and his youngest brother, both of them passed away in an accident, and the other younger brothers who were there, who were studying at that point in time, obviously had no other means but to start a small kirana shop as well as an STD PCO, which is not to be seen anymore these days. But that's how they started. We lived in a joint family. There were 14 to 16 of us staying in that joint family, and honestly, the whole childhood was not so pleasant, to be honest, because we were grown up with a lot of constraints. साल में एक बार भी बाहर जाके खाना was an event for us. So we used to look forward to that also. नए कपड़े तो impossible, मतलब जो दिवाली या बर्थडेज में आते हैं वो तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं होता था. So yeah, grew up with a lot of constraints. Being in a joint family, obviously, everybody will think differently. So काफी झगड़े भी होते थे घर पे. Between family members, it went to an extent that there was one family member or the other who used to threaten the other to be committing suicide every day almost, and then everybody else is running behind them कि patch up हो जाए. There used to be abuses hurled around. So not a very pleasant environment. मेरा school का attendance almost 99% होता था, because that was the only thing which I could look forward to during the day, by going out of home and then spending time at school. So yeah, somehow grew up through those challenges. Till class 12th, I was a very average student academically. Class 8th, 10th, 12th, दोनों में 60-65% के आसपास ही आए थे. And then, and quite directionless, honestly, because the only aim of my family was that, अगर 12वीं तक भी पास कर लिया तो फिर ठीक है, क्योंकि इसको eventually STD PCO या किराने की दुकान भी बैठना है. So that is what their aim was. They started preparing me for it since class 8th of, as far as I can remember. And वहाँ पे जाके गल्ले में बैठना, और फिर उसके it hardly required any brains. And they also thought that मैं जिंदगी में तो कुछ कर नहीं पाऊंगा, तो यही दुकान अब आगे जाके ये संभालेगा. So because I wanted to break free from that situation, I told after class 12th that my friends are going to Pune, and I would love to go to Pune as well to study. They said that BCom वहाँ पे करो या यहाँ पे करो, एक ही बात है. तो फिर उसके बाद, but I was very adamant that I want to go. So then that's when I moved to Pune. 5 साल पुणे में ग्रेजुएशन एंड MBA किया, BCom किया है, फिर उसके बाद MBA किया. Those are also not tier 1, tier 2 colleges. Honestly, tier 3 or tier 4 category at that point in time. And then, जब मैं वहाँ पुणे में भी गया था, तो फिर उसके बाद मुझे 3,000 रुपए मिलते थे महीने के to spend my livelihood, including rent. तो उस समय भी ऐसे काफी situations होते थे where we have to, I've literally lived hand to mouth since my childhood till I did my MBA, because there was no other choice. I took up my first job in a shopping floor in my second year of BCom with a shopping mall, जहाँ पे मैं फॉर्मल कपड़े बेचता था. जो आप देखते हो किसी भी शॉपिंग मॉल में जाते हो तो सेल्स वाले जो खड़े रहते हैं, तो आई वाज वन ऑफ दोज गाइज, एंड दैट वाज जस्ट टू अर्न सम एक्स्ट्रा मनी इन ऑर्डर टू लिव a little better than just hand to mouth. So yeah, just sailed that through, took a loan to do my MBA, and then उसके बाद I did my MBA, and then उसके बाद campus placement happened with Kotak, became a banker. 8 साल banking किया, but yeah, before my career started, that's what my life looked like.
Okay, Naveen. So one can see that, after listening to your story, that you have had a very difficult childhood. Yeah? Not one of the things that you might look back with the pleasant, memories. But still, today when you look back and you can see the growth that has happened, I believe, you must have been a very resilient and a very positive child, because whatever you went through, it did not impact you in a negative manner, right? So, Naveen, we'll come to the other part of your life. Like, even amidst this struggle, Yeah. Has there been any defining moment, either a lesson or a struggle or an act of unconditional support that you believe still fuels your decisions as a founder and a people first leader today?
See, the whole, I believe that I am a product of what I went through, right? I mean, and everybody, so right from our family members to friends, always keep saying that what if your dad was here? What if you were born in a better income family, etc., etc. But I just feel that if those would have happened, I might not have been what I am today, right? So that because of these struggles, because of the scarcity, because of whatever. There was always this desire to get something, but we could never get that thing. So there was a lot of pent up energy where I always kept thinking that, yaar, I want to reach a situation where these constraints don't define me, right? And honestly, आज भी ऐसा लगता है कि if I have to lose everything, touch wood, I feel that I will still be able to pull myself up because I've seen the worst. अब उससे ज्यादा खराब तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता. So thankfully, whatever life threw at me in the initial stages of created me as a person. Today I'm a very detached person, but at the same time very sensitive. So only results don't affect me. Failures don't affect me too much. So those are the things. So I would attribute it to my whole childhood. There was no such defining moment as such, but the fact that everything came in a very difficult manner to me, that's why I value them more. That's why I have that resilience to keep chasing more.
So, thanks, Naveen, for sharing this. And, when I listen to you, it actually, takes my mind to the situation which we generally talk about Gen Zs and all the stress. And the fact that the resilience level of people in today's workforce has gone down. They would get upset at very little things. You also must be employing, different age groups in your organization. So, what is your message to them? Because when somebody listens to your story, you have gone through a lot in life, and that is those things have actually built you up instead of breaking you down. So, is there a lesson or some kind of a message that you would like to give to today's generation that even though they do not have those kind of hardships in terms of the basic necessities in life per se, they still tend to kind of break down very easily? Yeah.
So Ekta, I believe that the way they can never put themselves in my shoe. It is very difficult for me also to put myself in their shoe, right? So what happens to them, the way the resilience has gone down a little bit, it is again a function of how you are growing up, how you have grown up. More than the Gen Zs, I would have a message to the parents more, because I believe that अपने बच्चे को decision लेने का capability do, and let them live by their failures, or for that matter successes, right? We hire a lot of folks in our company from campuses as well, and I keep telling them the good and bad part about success as well as failure is that they both are not permanent, right? So today every day you have you will succeed as well as fail. Now you can't control what's outside, right? You can't control what's around you. So I had posted something on LinkedIn just a few days back that if you feel that the whole world around you is a villain, then you are the villain. And if you feel that the whole world around you is a hero, then you are the hero. It's not about the world, it's about how you look at the world. So situations will throw many curveballs at you. It's important that how you respond to it matters. And just think of it this way, that आज अगर तुम successful हो या fail हो गए हो, this will change tomorrow. So accept that it will change, and don't live in that success or failure for a very, very long period of time. That's the only thing which I would recommend.
Thanks, Naveen, for sharing, that insight with us. And it's, it's very valuable, and it's very important for our parents, to ensure that the kind of upbringing that they give their children is actually in a manner where they can take decisions, and the kids can actually live up to the outcomes of those decisions. Yeah. So until and unless we actually face the outcome of the decisions that we take, we do not become strong. Yeah. So yeah, definitely, I think that's really useful. So now, Naveen, coming to the next question. I believe you spent years building leaders for high growth startups because, first your stint in the corporate world, and then I believe you started Scrabble 4.5 years back. But when did you first recognize the leader in yourself? And was there any particular moment or challenge that made you shift from doing a job to leading a vision?
Honestly, मुझे तो अभी भी लगता है कि मतलब I'm not a finished product. Everybody is a work in progress, and so am I. I do a lot of things which are right. I do a lot of things which are wrong, or for that matter, mistakes as well. While people management, I think, is one of the most difficult tasks in the world, and whatever you do, you will never be perfect at it, right? There will always be scope for improvement. Honestly, till the time I was working with Michael Page, for that matter, Michael Page ने मेरे को बोला था कि you should take up, as far as your next level is concerned, you'll have to start managing a team. उस समय तक I was very, very wary of managing a team, because मुझे हमेशा ये लगता था यार कि मैं दूसरों के परफॉर्मेंस के बेसिस पे मुझे कैसे जज कर सकते हो. When I have to do individual contributor role, I have much more control on my performance. But once you start managing people, then it is very difficult to control. So the only thing which I always had in mind, so then when I moved to Native gave me it used to be known as Veto earlier, they gave me a team management role. And when I walked into it for the first time, the way I looked at it is that I want to be the person who I would want to be seeing as manager. So what I expect from my manager is the kind of person who I need to become, right? Because mostly when you move from an individual contributor to a managerial role, your rules suddenly change. You don't want to be micromanaged, but the moment you become a manager, you start micromanaging people. You want to be trusted with all your decisions, but the moment you start managing people, you are not able to trust them. So all that, I was very, very conscious about the fact that every day I need to reflect that the way I'm managing my people today, and if my manager has to manage me in the same way, will I be okay with it? That perspective, I believe, changed my approach quite a bit. And today also, honestly, the only way I look at leadership is that we are in service for our people. People have trusted their career with us, and it is my responsibility to make sure that they shine. They have their choices. The fact that they've chosen you, which means that you need to, firstly be honored and not be entitled, and manage people in a way that you are completely and totally invested in their growth. That is how I look at it.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Naveen. And I'm liking the way this conversation is progressing. It's more like a conversation than an interview. I believe the insights that you're sharing will really be useful for the audience, because there doesn't seem to be any false pretensions here, but the real experiences that you have and the things that you really feel you are coming out and sharing with us. So coming to the next question, Naveen, we generally consider leadership recruitment as a transactional process. But it seems that you treat it almost like casting for a transformative play. Yes, I know that theater is one of your passions. So, do your years in theater in any way influence how you intuitively assess the potential and chemistry of a leadership team?
Yes. So I did improvised theater. So in improvised theater, what happens is that you don't go on the stage with any lines or any scripts. You go on the stage, take suggestion from the audience, and create a performance on the spot basis those suggestions, right? And so it's a very it's a very fulfilling form of art. I mean, I started doing this almost a decade back. Divya Palat was the person who taught me in my initial days, and we were doing multiple workshops. And there are two rules about if you want to be good at improvising. One is yes and. There's a concept of yes and, wherein you need to accept whatever is thrown at you on stage by agreeing with it. So let's say if somebody on stage calls me a dog, I need to become a dog now. I can't say that no, I'm a monkey, or I can't say that oh, I'm not a dog, I'm a human being. So I need to agree with that. Now I need to take this story forward by adding more layers to it. As a dog, the dog is loyal, the dog is very passionate, the dog is angry, or whatever is the case, and then create a story around it. Now this whole yes ending, yes means accepting and means adding more layers to it. So this whole concept I have applied in my personal as well as professional life, and especially when I'm evaluating leaders. So it's very important to understand that how aware is that leader about themselves, and what are they doing in order to enabling their teams and people in terms of growing with them, right? So this is a very important criteria for us. Then the second most important learning out of improvised theater is to make your partner look good. Don't come on stage thinking that you are the hero of the scene and you need to take the whole limelight. What you need to do is enable your partner to make them look good, and automatically more than half the work will be done, because everybody is acting, everybody is playing a role in their story, right? So it is important that you let that role shine. So in this, when, for example, when you speak with leaders, it's very easily visible when you ask them to narrate about their work. The moment it starts becoming I, me, myself, and how I have done this, how I have done that, how I transform those people, how I transform those, that then वो समझ में आ जाता है कि what kind of leader this person is. And the moment so ये सब चीजें, ये जो soft signals हैं from my theater world is something which helps me evaluate leadership talent better.
Right. Thanks, Naveen, for sharing this. For me, it is a concept which I was not aware of. Yeah. Okay. And this kind of theater. So I believe the very fact that you mentioned that not just yourself, you have to ensure that you make your partner also shine. Yeah. That seems to be a very key lesson of this experience, and this seems to be a very, very important way to understand, the leaders that you interview or you have a conversation now with. Coming to our next question, which is more about, what we at Amazing Workplaces do and what we as an organization believe. So we believe in nurturing, environments where employees feel a deep sense of belonging, trust, and alignment with purpose. Now, how do you, through Scrabble, which is your organization, ensure that the leaders you place are not just skilled but truly culture compatible and capable of building emotionally intelligent organizations? So you shared a part of it, when you said that how you judge, the kind of person you are dealing with. Now, secondly, how do you ensure that they are emotionally intelligent and culture compatible?
So it's very important. So everything is about horses for courses, right? And I can't evaluate or judge whether a company which is looking to hire. It's very important to understand completely the company who's looking to hire and the kind of value system which that company carries, right? What kind of leaders have done well, what kind of leaders have not done well with a company like that. So it's very important to spend a lot of time with clients understanding their value system a lot more, right? Understanding what kind of people have done well, what kind of people have not done well, and then take that learning and use that learning while you are evaluating candidates for them. I, as a person, might agree or disagree with that concept, but that does not matter till the time what is right for that company. I need to find that right mix for them, right? So, doing a complete, thorough understanding of that company and their value system, and taking that learning without being a judgmental person in between. दैट ओके ठीक है, अगर इनको इस टाइप का इंसान चाहिए तो फिर मुझे जाके इसी टाइप का इंसान ढूंढना है. आई कांट बी अ जज दैट दिस कल्चर शुड नॉट वर्क फॉर देम और दिस कल्चर शुड वर्क फॉर देम. I mean, you can give your opinions, but eventually that company is running their own thing. So then taking those value system and evaluating the candidates basis those value system is something which we do thoroughly. In addition, because you're right, at leadership level, it's not so much about skill anymore, right? The skills are given, but what is more important is what kind of value system the person brings on the table and what kind of leadership traits the person brings on the table. We carry those with us and then relay the same to the company that these are the facts and this is my opinion about that fact.
You mentioned a very important fact here that judging a company, what kind of culture they have, whether it is good or bad, is not something which you are in a position to do or say, but you make sure that the person you are hiring is actually a culture fit,
Yes,
and to the best of their capability, right?
Yes.
So, thanks for sharing that. Now coming to our next question, Naveen, have you ever faced any emotionally challenging decision as a founder, something that actually tested not your mind but your heart, and how do you navigate that while still staying true to your values?
So these emotional roller coasters happen every day, Ekta. I mean, so my wife is one of my co-founders, so obviously drawing that line between profession and personal life is a task on a day-to-day basis as well. Many a times you succeed at it, most of the times you fail at it. So that happens on a day-to-day basis every day. But beyond that, honestly, when we have to let go of people, right? I mean, whether it is basis performance, whether it is basis, I mean, a cultural misfit, that is not something which is a very, very pleasant thing to do. I mean, it is, but it's important for the business. Having said that, we've had people who are supremely culturally aligned. We have given them a very, very long rope, but then still there have been performance issues and we had to let them go. There have been people who are supremely high on performance, but they're not at all a cultural fit. Then having those conversations, making sure that either they align or they move out, is something which can be, when you are dealing with people, you always have that rational वो cap on your head, but वो हमेशा rational रहना थोड़ा difficult होता है. You hang out with people a lot, you party with them, you go out on offsites with them, and then उसके बाद वापस आके ऐसा लगता है कि यार मतलब अब इसी को निकालने बोलना है तो फिर that is not such a pleasant experience, to be honest. Making seeing people struggle in spite of having a lot of potential is itself it can be emotionally very draining, right? And people go through various kind of personal challenges as well. Standing right by them, in spite of knowing that it might not be so beneficial for the business currently, but looking at it more of as an investment can be very conflicting also. So these are some of the instances which I feel that can be emotionally draining.
I believe that's a very honest confession. In a very settled manner, you actually explain that these are things which happen day to day in a founder's life. And dealing with these situations is sometimes, it can be draining, especially if you're an emotional person, if you have certain connections with your employees. So thanks for being so honest and sharing it with us. Now, finally, we are coming to the last question. And which is, when you finally switch off from work mode, Naveen, what's something simple or unexpected that brings you joy and reminds you there's more to life than just building companies and careers?
So I play badminton. I play badminton 3 or 4 times a week. That's something which completely switches me off. What I usually do beyond work is I watch a lot of content in terms of. So मैं क्या करता हूँ कि काफी सारी ऐसे चीजें जैसे फ्रेंड्स हो गया या फिर उसके बिग बैंग थ्योरी हो गया या anything which is fun and where you don't need to apply your head or brains too much, and you can just sit and laugh on your own. I watch a lot of that content. तो कई बार ऐसा होता है मैं घर पे अकेले बैठा हूँ और मैं आई एम जस्ट लाफिंग माय हार्ट आउट watching those episodes. So that's something which is a great stress buster for me. I have a lot of video games on my phone. So during the day also, while working, I'll be on those games. So that also can be a great stress buster. And as I said, that I do gym and and play badminton. So that also is some of the things which I can do.
Great, simple, very simple solutions to a complicated life.
Yeah.
Great, thank you so much, Naveen. I think this conversation, was really interesting, and like I mentioned in the midway, it seems like a conversation less than not more of an interview, but a conversation between two people, which is really what I like about the Coffee Q show. So thanks for being so honest and transparent. Now, so I'm quickly, shifting to the rapid fire round. Yeah. So your first question for the rapid fire round, Naveen, is the book that changed how you look at life.
I'm not a book person. I'm sorry.
That's perfectly fine. The most unexpected lesson you learned from theatre.
This whole making other people shine.
Okay.
How it can bring out the story more beautifully.
This is quite important.
Yeah.
A mistake you are secretly grateful for.
I think I'm grateful for all the mistakes because it has made me learn.
Right. A quote that always gets you back on track.
Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die.
Very true. Theatre or boardroom, where do you feel more vulnerable?
Theatre.
Okay.
Yeah.
One word your team would use to describe you.
Funny.
Okay. What's the one question you always ask while interviewing a candidate?
Hunger quotient.
That's very important actually.
Yeah.
If you could have dinner with 3 people, anyone in the past or present, who would they be?
Sachin Tendulkar, Narendra Modi, and
if you can't think about them, then you don't want to have dinner with them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If I have to force fit them, then 2 ही होंगे मेरे ख्याल से.
Your favorite childhood memory in one sentence.
My school days.
An unusual talent or hobby people don't know about you.
Actually, I'm quite an open book. They know a lot about me.
No secrets.
Okay,
fine. So that brings us to the end of this episode of the Coffee Q show. I'm really glad we have you as a guest today, and it was really fun having this conversation with you. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, and I hope our audience also enjoy themselves listening to this interview. So thanks once again, Naveen, for being here. Thank you once again for being on the Coffee Q show.
Thanks a lot, Ekta. Thanks for having me. It was fun and great chatting with you. I loved your questions and the way and the direction at which it was going. I'm very passionate about this whole subject about leadership and people management. So I'm glad that we could speak about it.
Sure. Thank you so much once again. Yeah.
Thank you.